Welcome to the OHL Fanboys podcast from I guess it would be day 8 of the MasterCard Memorial Cup here in Windsor, Ontario. It's semi-final Friday. I am Steve McLean. With me is Brian Thompson, and our guest today, the media coordinator for the CHL, Mr. Paul Krotz. Paul, thanks for coming out and joining the tailgate.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for
having me.
Honor to have
you.
Wow.
Because you are one of the more interesting people we know in this business who, you're not just OHL, but you're CHL. And today you're running 2 hats, I assume.
A dual citizen, they call me. Or to give you a little bit of the lay of the land, and the CHL and the OHL office, they're 2 separate staffs, but we're both based out of Toronto. Okay. And I think it dates back to when the office was maybe a little bit smaller. Some of the staff just fulfilled 2 roles. So when I was hired as in media and communications, I don't think that role was as certainly as big as it has become.
All right.
So they felt that I could kind of wear both hats, and I've continued that into my 9th season.
When exactly did you start with the CHL?
Started the 2008-9 season was my first year.
That was when I first saw you, because the first glimpse I got of you was the press conference, Game 1 of Windsor-London.
Right.
And they're showing, and there you are at the podium, and I've never seen someone start with the questions themselves. I'm like, who the heck is this guy? And it was just really interesting, because I believe Dale Hunter gave you nothing. It was just they played hard, they worked hard. They played hard, they worked hard.
Well, I thought you were going to say...
Poor guy!
I thought you were going to say you never saw somebody look so scared.
No, you were fine. It was just to ask them questions and then not be responsive. I'm like, this poor man.
How is it that you get to a position like this? Because it's not often you see a kid go, one day I want to be the media coordinator. It's like...
It's an adult, yeah. As a kid, you don't want that, but as an adult, you're like, that's a cool job.
Well, I've been fortunate. I grew up a sports fan, hockey fan, just like you guys and like so many people. When I was in high school, I remember trying to find a career path for in university, and I remember attending all of the different seminars that they had at lunchtime, and the one that I actually didn't attend was Laurentian University's, where they offered the sports administration program. And a buddy of mine, he says, hey, I think there was this program that you might like. So I ended up following up on that and applying, being accepted. Went to Laurentian 4 years, graduated with the sports administration program. Love your jersey, because I worked 2 years with the Sudbury Wolves. That's really where I got my first job, so to speak. A lot of it was internship based, but working with the team. Fell in love with the OHL, more than I had before, and things kind of worked out for me. Bounced around a few other jobs before finally getting lucky and landing this.
Talk about your day-to-day in these sort of things, because you're working both media, you're doing social media, which I know has got to add a lot to your job.
You're getting emails from us asking for the commissioner.
Talk about what your normal day here is like.
Yeah, well, I mentioned before kind of the dual citizen. Yeah. We're working both. I guess day-to-day throughout the year, the majority of my time is focused on the OHL. Mm-hmm. That league's media and communication side of things, dealing with our teams, interview requests for the commissioner, press releases, different weekly news, in addition to managing our web and social media properties. So I would do the same from the CHL standpoint. It really kind of amplifies around our national events like Canada Russia Series, Top Prospects Game, and of course, MasterCard Memorial Cup. So when I'm here, it would be a continuation of that, accepting and working through accreditation requests for media, press box seating, handling the day-to-day policies that we put our teams through in terms of bringing the coaches and players into the media center for interviews, working with Sportsnet and TVA Sport for their broadcast components, and then on top of that, the media, website, social media portion of it for both the CHL and the OHL. I do have some help in that regard, but of course when you get to this stage, there's so many we've got so much great content, you never slow down, so it's busy but fun.
That was going to be my next question. Have you had time to eat or sleep this week? Because I don't think so.
You must have enjoyed having yesterday off.
I should say no game. No game.
No game. Tiebreaker games are great for the tournament if it's if it is the competitive nature of it, but can't lie. I think so many people, sometimes a night away from the rink allows you to recharge, refuel for what should be a good semifinal and final. But to your first question, I can't count how many times people walk into the media room and I've got my spot in the in the work areas etched out, and they say, "Oh, you were here the last time I walked in," and I kind of
you haven't moved,
grin and bear it. But and likewise when people. I'm fortunate with these events, as you guys know from your travels. Like you really see the country. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how much I've been able to experience. Last few years, Red Deer in Quebec and. Well, London, as we all know, here, Windsor. I had to say London.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, you get it.
He's trying to goad me into saying it, but it's not happening.
Get a kick out of it.
No, I'm being good.
There we go. But unfortunately, though, or I guess fortunately, because it is what we love and what we signed up for, a lot of that time is spent in the rink. So anytime you can get away, get to a nice restaurant, experience a little bit of the city, I guess I take that for granted a little bit more in OHL markets because I am very familiar with Windsor. But when you're out in Red Deer in Quebec, as I say, it's nice to get out and do something.
See things around, especially all these features on Sportsnet that say visit local, and here you are stuck in the rink almost all the time.
Right.
In the basement of the rink. There's not even a window.
At the same time, if I was away from the rink so much, it'd probably be my last cup. So,
exactly.
So I guess you got to fight.
What are some of the more difficult aspects of your job? Like, especially with the online and social media and all that stuff all at once. What are some of the more difficult things for you?
Well, I think like anybody, there's the time management aspects of things. Really trying to prioritize or have your priorities in the right places. I mean, for me at this event, I have countless content ideas when it comes to things I'd like to do on social media, things I'd like to do on our website, our video side of things. But I'm also torn between that and I guess servicing the media and by way of making sure logistically that others are in a good position to do the same. So a lot of times when I want to just kind of sit at my computer and get some work done, I'm being pulled in different directions, especially early on in the tournament with different questions, dealing with the host committee and different media members to, again, really just help them and make sure that they're set up fine, which I'm not complaining about, but it's certainly, that's a challenge. Certainly the early parts of the days where you're really trying to, you've got 100 different things going on in your head and you want to make sure you're doing it right because it's such an important event.
I'll pose to you one of the same questions I asked Mr. Branch, and I'm not going to ask you to step on his toes with his answer or anything, but you're more familiar with the media aspect of this, and we saw Rogers Mississauga close and more cord cutting and all that stuff. Where do you see in 5 years from now how people are watching their games? Like, surely they'll see them on Sportsnet because of the contract, but how are fans going to be watching these games 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Because you have to kind of look forward as part of your job, right?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm definitely not going to step on the boss's toes. I think he answered it pretty well, just in terms of, speaking with Mississauga in particular, I think there's a few too many unknowns just with what happens there. I know the goal, everybody's got the same goal in mind of giving our league and our teams as much exposure as they can, and the community broadcasts do such a great job with that. Not only how integral they are in for Rogers TV Peel, they are in the Mississauga area, but for all of the other teams as their teams play on the road, that's their opportunity to follow Windsor or Guelph or whoever it is, through the home team's broadcast.
Right.
It's unfortunate that there might be some challenges with that next year with Rogers TV, but I know that we've got some pretty good conversations going with Sportsnet, other Rogers producers or stations within Ontario. We've got, as we've seen the last few years, our broadcasts have grown as far as the OHL Action Pack's concerned, integrating the U.S. markets.
We are so happy with that.
Yes,
that was one of our biggest complaints is we couldn't see this, especially as a Windsor fan. We had 2 American teams in there, so we couldn't see those, and Sault Ste. Marie, decides flip of a coin if they're going to show a game half the time.
Well, but at least with Erie, Flint, and Saginaw now, there's a little bit more awareness in terms of what it takes to put together a broadcast in-house. Mm-hmm. So if that's an avenue that we have to go down in any of our other markets, we've got something that we can go back to and it's possible.
Yeah.
I know Mr. Branch said, as you did, just with the online packages, the streaming. Again, we're fortunate that we do have our community broadcasters, but the online packages are very popular in the West and Quebec League, just because not all the games are on TVA or the Rogers markets in the Maritime.
Yeah.
They are self-produced. So maybe that's a way that we grow it. We all know how much we cling to our phones, and we are all, craving the video content if we are OHL fans. So digital properties are our endless conversations when we get together as teams, as leagues. I certainly can't look into the future, but I know that the digital conversations are only going to grow and intensify. So hopefully we can keep delivering.
You got to go down that Vince McMahon road. Brian's always said, get the CHL network up.
I will give you my $10 every month if I can see every game.
I think we'd have 2 ringside reporters too.
I would work for that for free. You mentioned all the things that you kind of is pulling you in different directions. One little thing I'll bring up kind of out of the blue here. Hamilton Spectator did an article about the Hamilton Spectator Trophy. I think that you were in that article. How far into the closet did you have to dig to get that trophy out?
Well, I mean, as I think I said in the article, it was in storage.
Yeah.
Part
it's a trophy no one really wants. They're happy to have it, but they have to look to the playoffs,
yeah.
right?
Well, we were a little bit not surprised by that article because I did have the conversation, but those are conversations when it comes to our teams that we don't really have. We've made the trophies available to teams. Sometimes maybe they're not so aware of it, or as you said, it's not the one that it's not your.
They can barely touch the conference
first
one's
prize.
Yeah.
So no, we did have the trophy. I hadn't seen it in a number of years, so we did have to dig it up.
Get some dust off
we took some pictures and made sure the plaques are updated. And most of our trophies don't see. I don't want to say see the light of day, but they are stored for the most part of the year.
Because we always hear about, like, when you win the division title, it's like
the Bombaco trophy.
And those trophies also exist.
They do exist.
They
okay,
exist.
I didn't know if they existed in name only or not.
No.
Interesting.
But again, we've some teams have used them in the past. End of the season team photos, where you might see trophies, whether it's individual team awards lined up in front. But again, I think it's been some time before or since the division and the Hamilton Trophy Spectator trophies have made appearance. But maybe we'll bring them back.
Yeah,
we got a few minutes left. We'll want to look a little bit ahead to Regina next year because that is the 100th, and I know there's no details that are going to be spilled. I'm not trying to do that, but how much is the league already looking into next year? Because obviously the Regina staff are here as they normally do the next team, almost passing the torch and getting ideas for stuff. But you don't want to make next year just the Memorial Cup. It's got to be big for the 100th. Is that something that CHL is really looking into to give its pride for the 100th?
Yeah. I mean, we really are. We recognize that it is every year of this event it's a historic year, but obviously with the centennial, it's extra special. Yeah. I think, and I think everybody recognizes that and has the same goals in mind of if we can use that whole year as an opportunity to engage the nation, if you will. I think some of the buzzwords we used around our office just in terms of trying to generate a little bit more enthusiasm for this event. I think the biggest thing that you might notice, or I hope you notice, is that it's more than just its 10-day festivities in Regina. I hope we can have a much lengthier build-up, not just in Regina, but across the 3 leagues. I'm pretty sure that's kind of one of our goals. Plans are certainly well underway in that regard. They start. This one started for us, I think, earlier than even the bid proposals came in.
Because OHL ones are almost like bidding for the Olympics. Like there's big things for it, whereas at W, they'll be like, oh yeah, we're giving it to... Not that that's simple, but
right.
It's just there's a lot less fanfare for the W and the Q ones as opposed to the O with the big bid process and everything.
Well, I don't know.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I don't know. I think each of the 3 leagues do things differently in that sense. This was the first time, at least in my involvement, where that bid process was opened up nationally, where it didn't matter what the cycle was, it didn't matter what league you were in. You could put the bid in, and we had some great bids. I know it was close between Regina, Oshawa, and Hamilton. I think you'll hear a little bit more and more about the festivities in place for next year, and I don't think, as time goes on, we'll get through the 99th with Windsor, and they've done an outstanding job, and I can't wait for next year. It's going to be awesome.
Final question, do you know how the cycle is going to work now that it's going back to the Dove next year? Is it going to go Q and now we're going to go counterclockwise?
Oh,
or has it been discussed? Or?
Yeah, I think, I don't think this cycle is affected because last year was a
well, it was supposed to be the Q
the
next
Regina
year.
was the CHL bid.
So
the cycle will maintain.
It's just on hold for a year, kind of.
Yeah, it'll go. Okay.
So the Q will get it in 2019, and then back to the W in 2020, and so on. Okay.
W every other year. That's pretty cool for them.
They're happy with that. So,
Paul, we want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for your access this week and everything. It's been just a pleasure to have you. One of the good guys in the league that we very much enjoyed talking to.
Thanks,
you put up a lot with us, so we thank you for that.
We'll do it again sometime.
When we come back, we'll have more with the OHL Fanboys podcast live at the Memorial Cup tailgate.